What it is, everybody. Good evening. I had to jump in quick on this live stream just to report what is breaking news today. I know people aren't going to be tuned in yet, but so you'll have to maybe catch this on the replay a little bit, but I'll go over the news. Syria is being accused by the white helmets, notably, of dropping chemical weapons during their campaign in eastern Ghouta. There were already reports earlier in the day about, as there are every time Assad's army makes progress, there were reports about the relentless shelling of Ghouta, the last rebel-held enclave, etc., killing women and children as usual. The Russians predicted the Russians just a little while ago predicted that, or didn't predict, actually said they had intelligence that rebels, so-called rebels, who they'll call terrorists, have been trained by Western forces to actually do a chemical weapons attack, be involved in a chemical weapons attack, just to blame it on the Syrian government. And now we've had what is allegedly a chemical weapons attack, and I don't have any video on it yet. They say there's video being shared, just the usual video with people foaming from the mouth and such. We've talked on this channel, that's why I'm wearing my Russian bot shirt today, which if you want to support coverage like this, you can always go to truthclothing.io to pick up shirts like the one I'm wearing right now. They'll call me a Russian bot because I'm going to spread some Russian propaganda right now and suggest that if this develops into something more than it already is, and it appears to be developing now, the headlines, it's rising up the headlines as we speak, we might have the ultimate false flag to bring bombs raining down Damascus and start effectively World War III. War between us, Russia, China, Iran, Israel, Saudi Arabia, on different sides of the playing field. Boom, 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 hot weapons, etc. The end of the world, fulfilling prophecy. So that's what we might be looking at. This could be completely in response to Donald Trump's call to abandon Syria. Donald Trump, just out of nowhere, in the middle of a speech, said that we're planning to withdraw our troops from Syria soon. The deep state revolted. And finally, Donald Trump had to pull back what he said and say, okay, well, we'll stay for a little while we're fighting ISIS, when we know that the intention of the military being there in the first place was to overthrow the Assad regime, and that the Assad regime and Syria has been on the list of the deep state for a long time, along with countries that we've already overthrown, like Iraq, like Libya. Yemen would have been on that list as well. We're working on it. So that's what it could be. It could be that the White Helmets, a propaganda outfit, are releasing real video and photographs of real women and children foaming at the mouth from a genuine chlorine gas attack. But we have to ask ourselves, why? Sort of like the Russian poisoning story. What motivation would Syrian forces have, Syrian President Bashar al-Assad behind it? What motivation would they have in a war they're winning, where they've almost captured or liberated, you could say, all of Damascus and Damascus suburbs, which is what we're talking about right now? What is the one thing that could create a setback in that campaign? What's the one thing that could start a war with the big Western powers? Dropping chemical weapons, right? I mean, we know that already from the other times that Assad allegedly dropped chemical weapons in barrel bombs on neighborhoods in and around Syria. The last time it allegedly happened, which was never verified, there were Tomahawk missiles launched at an Air Force base in Syria. So let me give you the news, and then we can turn over to Titus Frost, who's live right now. I just wanted to get you guys this news real quick. Oh, and tell you, by the way, I'm here. I'm back. This channel's back. They cleared the strike. So I guess I was a little I got a little, when I said I would never be live streaming on YouTube again, well, turned out a few days later I am. Blessings be. A good day it is that I'm back. So anyway, here's the story. I'm just going to show you a few headlines, read you some of the details, and then we'll get out of here and see how the story develops over time. This is from Al Jazeera. Suspected chemical attack kills scores in Syria's Douma. New York Times. Poison gas attack reported by Syrian anti-government activists. Each story reads a little differently. From the BBC, Syria war, scores dead in Syria gas attack, rescuers and medics say. I'll read you the Al Jazeera article just to give you the story, because this is going to become important news on a weekend in which the stock market and world markets have been experiencing quite a bit of volatility, had a down day on Friday, and everybody's talking about another Black Monday. Well, here's here's something else to spur on a major sell-off in world markets, and maybe the kind of Black Monday that people have been talking about happening. But before that happens, let me read you what's being reported. Government forces accused of dropping poisonous chemicals on last rebel stronghold in eastern Ghouta. A suspected chemical attack in Douma, the last rebel-held stronghold near Syria's capital, Damascus, has killed at least 70 people and affected hundreds, rescue workers have told Al Jazeera. The White Helmets, a group of rescuers operating in opposition-held areas in Syria, said on Saturday that most of the fatalities were women and children. Quote, 70 people suffocated to death and hundreds still suffocating, unquote. Raid al-Salah, head of the White Helmets, told Al Jazeera, adding that the death toll was expected to rise as many people were in critical condition. Al-Salah said that chlorine gas, as well as an unidentified but stronger gas, were dropped on Douma. Quote, White Helmet volunteers are trying to help the people, but all what we can do is evacuate them to other areas by foot because most of the vehicles and centers went out of service, unquote. One member of White Helmets told Al Jazeera that an entire family had suffocated to death as they hid in their cellar, trying to seek shelter from air raids and barrel bombs. Syrian state media denied government forces had used chemical weapons. Much of the city is destroyed. Pro-government forces and their allies on Friday launched a fierce air and ground offensive on Douma, the last remaining rebel-held town in eastern Ghouta. Syria's news agency, Sana, said the heavy bombardment, which shattered 10 days of calm, was a response to shelling by Jaish al-Islam, the armed group in control of Douma, on residential areas in Damascus. Sana reported that 4 people were killed and material damage was caused as a result of the shelling. Jaish al-Islam denied the accusation. Quote, Douma has been subject to intense airstrikes and much of the city is destroyed, unquote. Moyed al-Dairani, a resident of Douma and medical volunteer, told Al Jazeera, adding that doctors were struggling to reach all the victims. Quote, we are currently dealing with more than 1,000 cases of people struggling to breathe after the chlorine barrel bomb was dropped on the city. The number of dead will probably rise even further, unquote. The Douma Media Center, a pro-opposition group, posted images on social media of people being treated by medics and of what appeared to be dead bodies, including many women and children. If anybody has any of those images or videos, please let me know. Rescue workers also posted videos of people appearing to show symptoms consistent with a gas attack. Some appeared to have white foam around their mouths and noses. Symptoms of a chlorine attack include coughing, dyspnea, intensive irritation of the mucous membrane, difficulty in breathing. They have limited medical staff. Let me see if there's any more from this article we need to get into. Okay, there is something else I want to get into. So I'm reading this to you because I was following the story before it was before it made Google headlines. It was being reported that there was a possible gas attack, a possible chemical weapons attack in Syria. At the time, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, and I don't have this article up, I read it earlier, was saying that people died from inhalation from conventional bombs. So the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, which is one guy in England who hates Bashar al-Assad, was not going along right away with the chemical weapons narrative, which made me think, oh, maybe this one won't be a big deal. Well, I checked the BBC article, and this is where things started to get worrisome for me, is when they start quoting U.S. officials who are saying that it was a chemical weapons attack and something needs to be done. So let me read you this one. Rescuers and medics say at least 70 people have died in Syria after toxic gas was dropped on Douma. Volunteer Rescue Force, the White Helmets, tweeted graphic images showing scores of bodies in a basement. It said the death toll is likely to rise. There has been no independent verification of the reports. Syria's government has called the allegations of a chemical attack a fabrication. A tweet later deleted by the White Helmets put the number of dead at 150. Here's where it gets worrisome. The U.S. State Department said it is monitoring the, quote, very disturbing, unquote, reports, and that Russia, which is fighting alongside the Syrian government, should be held responsible if deadly chemical weapons had been used. Quote, the regime's history of using chemical weapons against its own people is not in dispute, unquote, said the State Department. And then, quote, Russia ultimately bears responsibility for the brutal targeting of countless Syrians with chemical weapons, unquote. They state without evidence, right? There actually is no evidence, as far as I know, out of all the alleged chemical weapons attacks by the Syrians against their own people, which always work out badly for the Assad regime whenever it happens. And like I said, Bashar al-Assad didn't have much to worry about as long as he didn't drop chemical weapons. I was going to look at the White Helmets and see what they're showing. White Helmets. I assume they have their own. Yep, they do. Let's see what they're saying. I don't want to show you. Oh, hold on. Hold on. Graphic imagery. So there is graphic imagery posted by the White Helmets of people with foam coming out of their mouths. I don't think I can show it. I don't know. You can go to the Twitter site, but I don't think I can actually show it because it's supposedly, allegedly, imagery of dead people with foam coming out of their mouths. So you can go ahead and take a look. Let me just see if, let me just review something. See if I can show it to you. I can't show it to you. That's YouTube for you. I can't show it to you. If I could, it used to be that I would. Oh, there's one of basically a child with, yeah, lots of imagery posted by the White Helmets along with video. Last time Donald Trump retaliated for an alleged chemical weapons attack, it's because he saw what were allegedly dead children from the gas attack. So, of course, if that's what happened, it's a tragic event, but there is a history of White Helmets actually fabricating video. So I remain skeptical, especially considering the timing of this event. I think it's okay to say that. I mean, I don't know. I'm definitely not looking at images and saying they're not real. I'm not showing them. But beware, this is when shit gets real. Once we start bombing Damascus, that's where Russian soldiers are, then and probably Iranian soldiers. Once we do that, we're at war with Russia and Iran. And we'll be on the same side as Israel, Saudi Arabia, pretty much. And we have a lot of big war machines, weapons, bombs, etc., that we can throw at each other. So anyway, that's the news. The news is this channel's back live for now. And I'm still on Twitch, just like I always have been. It's still the best place to find me. If you're already on Twitch, all you have to do is switch over to Titus Frost's channel, and you'll see that he's live right now, as far as I know. I will try to drop you a link to that show. Yeah, I'll give you a link to that show right now on YouTube. We'll get some people tuned in over there. I'm sorry that I stepped on his toes in as much as I did. Here's the link to Titus. Doshi's here. We're back. We'll see you tomorrow and see how things go. We'll probably see you tomorrow. Okay? From me, from Doshi, tune over to the Titus Frost Show if you're watching live. That is what it is.